All right, today we're jumping into a real heavyweight, Hegel's philosophy of right. Now, I know it has a reputation for being difficult, but it's also one of the most important books in political philosophy because it asks this one massive question.
That's it. That's the question that drives this entire incredible work. And Hegel's answer? Well, it's not a simple one-liner. It's a journey. He literally builds a world for us, brick by brick, to show us where freedom actually lives. So we're going to follow his roadmap, this journey of freedom. You'll see how each stage is totally necessary, but also not quite enough on its own, which pushes us to the next level. Okay, let's get into it.
Our journey starts at the most basic level you can imagine, with the simplest possible idea of freedom. Hegel gives it a name: abstract right.
Think about it like this. This is your right to point at something and say, that's mine. It's all about owning property, signing contracts, and having everyone else legally respect that. It's the absolute first step, but as you'll see, it's a pretty limited way to think about freedom. So yeah, this system of property and rules is super important. It creates a basic framework backed up by the law that stops us from just taking each other's stuff. But a freedom that's only about things is kind of thin, isn't it? And to show just how brutal and cold this stage can be, Hegel pulls out this shocking example from old Roman law. I mean, it's straight out of The Merchant of Venice. It shows that when freedom is only about external rules, it can become monstrously impersonal. Clearly, we need something more. We need an inner dimension. Okay, so if abstract right was all about the external world of laws and property, the next logical step is to swing the pendulum completely inwards, into the realm of what Hegel calls morality. So now, freedom isn't about what the law book says. It's about your own conscience. It's about your internal compass of good and evil. The big question here is no longer, is it legal, but do I feel this is the right thing to do? And boom, now we have a huge problem, a real conflict. On one side, you've got the world of abstract rights, cold, impersonal, sometimes even cruel. On the other, you have morality, deeply personal, sure, but also totally subjective. My conscience might tell me one thing, and yours another. Neither of these is real, complete freedom. We have to find a way to bring them together. This is where Hegel's genius really shines through. To solve this conflict, he introduces a third, higher sphere that unites the external law with our internal conscience. He calls it ethical life, or Sittlich light. This concept is everything. Ethical life is where freedom stops being just an abstract rule or private feeling and becomes woven into the very fabric of our society, our customs, our institutions, our shared life. It's where freedom gets real. So let's see how he builds it. Now, ethical life isn't just one big blob. Hegel sees it as a living structure, built from a few key pillars. And it all starts in the place we know best: the family. This is our first taste of ethical life. In a family, you're not just an individual with a list of rights. You're part of a whole, bound by love and care. It's where we first learn to see ourselves as part of something bigger. But, of course, that's just the beginning. We grow up, and we have to step out into a much wider world. And that wider world is what Hegel calls civil society. This is the realm of the economy, the legal system, the marketplace. It's competitive, for sure. Everyone's out there pursuing their own interests. But, and this is the fascinating part, in doing so, we all become completely dependent on each other, creating this dense web of social connection. And for Hegel, organizations like professional guilds, unions, or associations, what he calls corporations, are absolutely vital. They step into the chaos of the marketplace and give people a social identity beyond their job. They give you a sense of honor, of belonging to a community, a kind of second family that connects your personal work to the public good. So we have the intimate world of the family and the competitive world of civil society. But the journey isn't over. We've reached the summit, the grand climax of the whole book, Hegel's most famous and definitely his most controversial idea: the state. Okay, I know what you're probably thinking. The state, isn't that the opposite of freedom? You know, taxes, regulations, bureaucracy. It's the thing that tells us what to do. Well, hold on, because Hegel is about to flip that entire notion upside down. You see, for Hegel, the state isn't some outside force pushing down on us. It's the ultimate rational institution that brings everything together, the love of the family, the competition of civil society, into one coherent whole.
It's the structure that finally allows my personal freedom to find its meaning in the good of the entire community.
And this analogy is just perfect. Think about it. A musician isn't less free because they have to use musical scales and the rules of harmony. No way. Those rules are the very structure that enables them to create beautiful music. And for Hegel, it's the same with the state. Its rational laws and institutions provide the structure that makes our individual, free actions meaningful and part of something bigger.
So after this amazing construction, building freedom all the way up from a single person to the rational state, Hegel ends with this beautiful, almost poetic thought about what philosophy's job even is.
This is one of the most famous lines in all of philosophy. The owl of Minerva was the symbol of wisdom. And what Hegel's saying is that wisdom, philosophy, doesn't show up at dawn to tell us what to do or how to build the future. It arrives at dusk. It can only help us understand a world that has already been built, just as it's beginning to fade.
And that is a heavy thought to leave you with, isn't it? It takes this dense, 200-year-old book and makes it feel incredibly relevant. If we're all thinking and arguing so intensely about the nature of the state, individual rights, and community today, what does that say about our own shape of life? It's a question the Owl of Minerva leaves for us to think about in the twilight.